Before I Wake is the new film from director Mike Flanagan, who's directed previous films like Ouija, Origin of Evil, Hush, Oculus, Gerald's Game, and this film Before I Wake is about this couple, Jesse and Mark, played by Thomas Jane and Kate Bosworth, who recently lost a young child, and now they've adopted young Jacob Tremblay to be their new son, but they realize very quickly that this young boy's dreams come to life. Like, you see these butterflies, and they also see visions of their own kid coming from his dreams. So in some way, his dreams are helping them kind of cope with their reality, but at the same time, whenever he dreams of a nightmare like the Canker Man, then it gets really bad for them. I was really excited to see this film 2 years ago when it was supposed to come out in theaters, but then Relativity Media, the studio that was going to distribute the film, went bankrupt and they had to just keep it on the shelf for so long. They were able to distribute films like The Disappointments Room and Masterminds, but Before I Wake, apparently that's not good enough for them. And I was legit surprised that Relativity Media didn't have faith in a Mike Flanagan film, a director who at the time had already proven himself with Oculus, and Hush had just came out like a couple months before. Before I Wake was originally supposed to come out, and Ouija was coming out later that year. It was just a big surprise to me why Relativity Media did not want to distribute this film. Finally, Netflix has decided to release it, so in America, it now counts as a 2018 release. And after watching this film, I still don't know why Relativity decided, out of the few films they were able to distribute, why not this one? I thought this was a very good film for Mike Flanagan. Definitely not one of his best, but this film had a lot to offer that really surprised me in the end, especially for a film that Netflix picked up, because recently Netflix and their films haven't really been all that great. There have been a few good ones, but overall just not too good. This one, however, was really surprising to me, because it's not really a horror film. It was being marketed as such, and Mike Flanagan is famously known for horror, and there are horror elements in this film, but the movie's not really about them, necessarily. This movie is really more of a family drama between this couple, played by Thomas Jane and Kate Bosworth. It's really more so how their lives have changed ever since the passing of their young child, and then when they get this new boy Cody in, and his dreams are constantly reminding them of the past, and they're thinking, we can use his dreams to kind of cope and try to have our boy back. It's that kind of interesting dynamic that really latched me on to these characters. And they're really different in the sense of how they've been affected by it, because Thomas Jane, who's really good in this, in 1922, the Netflix movie, his teeth were constantly clenched together, but in this one, his mouth moved. But he's the father of the movie who is kind of moved on from it, like you can tell there's pain in his eyes, but he's really willing to finally move forward, while you have Kate Bosworth, who's really the one still having a hard time with the fact that her young son has passed away. She's the one who's definitely the most distraught in the film, and it's a very good performance from her. Her character has a lot to go through, and Kate Bosworth, I think, did a very good job handling that material. It's also very interesting just to see how these characters interact with Cody, because you can tell that there is a sense of wanting to bond with him, wanting to make him a part of the family, but they also care about their previous son, and they want to see him come whenever he's asleep. And you can complain like they never explain how the young boy Cody can actually have these magical dreams. That's not really the point of the film, though. The point of the film is about acceptance and moving on from the past and not letting those memories haunt you. And that's really fascinating to me. The fact that they marketed this film as a horror movie, but it's really more so just a drama with these characters that need to move on. Even Jacob Tremblay, playing Cody, who is very good in this film. I won't spoil anything, but the reason why certain things have happened to him mainly linked to what's happened to him in the past. So his character doesn't really feel like a MacGuffin in that sense, where he's literally just like an object for the film to use because his dreams come true. Like, he is an actual character that matters to the story. And by the end of the film, when the film was starting to come to a close, there were certain things that actually touched at my heart a little bit. Certain things involving the screenplay that I found very clever and very unique. Especially, no spoilers once again, something involving the Canker Man that shows up a lot when Cody is having nightmares. The way they kind of bring up why the Canker Man is in the movie to begin with, I loved that when they eventually revealed it. I was just like, oh my god, that that's amazing. Like, the screenplay for this film, I think it's really underappreciated. Because the reviews for this film, they're a little mixed to positive, but there's certain things about this script that I just really loved and gravitated towards. I will say, though, that visually, like visual effects-wise, the Cankerman doesn't look that great. Like, you can definitely tell that that's not real, like it's not really in their realm of reality, but at the same time I like how he impacted the story, so it's not a big hindrance. And there's also the moment in the beginning where they try to explain how Jesse and Mark's son died, and I wasn't a big fan of that because it was a little too simplistic. Like, it's in the beginning of the movie, so it doesn't really matter. Basically, their young kid was like, he drowned in the bathtub because there was no handrail to grab onto, but there's still the sides of the bathtub to climb onto, so why exactly? It just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense in the context of the film. I wish they had rewritten that scene in some way, but at the end of the day, that doesn't matter too much because you really do feel the drama between Jesse and Mark and how this has affected them. However, I did mention earlier that there are horror elements in this film, and I would like to mention them really briefly because they are really good. It's a lot of the horror filmmaking that Mike Flanagan does with other projects that I've grown to love so much. Shots that don't require the dong stinger or anything, just a shot. And something creepy happens in the shot, and there's no music accompanying it, it's not made a big deal out of, it's just there in the frame. And whenever it does that, it legit does send chills down my spine, like, each time. There are a few disappointing, just obvious jump scare moments, but luckily that's not the majority of the scares, and a lot of the other impressive horror filmmaking does stand out more to me. And it's exactly why I'm very interested to see where Mike Flanagan goes with Dr. Sleep, which is the sequel to The Shining. They recently announced that he's going to be directing that film, and of course The Shining, directed by Stanley Kubrick, my favorite horror film ever made. And if you had told me like a couple years ago or months ago, I would have said, no, I don't want to see a Shining sequel. But the fact that it is Mike Flanagan does have me very interested, because Mike Flanagan, in my opinion, is one of the best horror filmmakers working today, and I'd love to see, especially because I don't know anything about the Dr. Sleep book, I'd love to see how Flanagan approaches this project. Although Before I Wake may not be the best Mike Flanagan film, this is still a film that I think is worth checking out. It may not be for everyone because, like I said earlier, the reviews are a little mixed to positive, but at the same time, there are a lot of things that I really enjoyed about this film that I would recommend to other people. So if you haven't seen this movie yet, it's on Netflix, you can go watch it. I would strongly recommend it. I'm gonna give Before I Wake a B+. It's got some great horror filmmaking from Mike Flanagan, but it also has a very good family drama story that I legit was not expecting to be the standout of the film, yet it was, and I very much so appreciated that. I think Mike Flanagan still has a lot more creative stories to tell in the film industry, and I'm so glad that Netflix was able to take this film and actually release it finally, because I've been waiting for it for at least 2 years now. But if you've seen Before I Wake, leave in the comments below what you thought of it, and as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.